Welcome to School Zone, the podcast of the Oklahoma Public School Resource Center. And I'd like to welcome to the show Marissa Lightsey.
Yes.
I got it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, I always
Perfect.
worry about, sometimes if I don't correct the name, and then am I going to mess up the name?
That's it. It's perfect.
And Marissa's here with us as part of our podcast series with the State Department of Ed. This is episode 3. Episode 1, we divided actually into 2 shows because Superintendent Hoffmeister just talked a lot.
Okay.
And then then episode 2, we had folks on talking about trauma-informed instruction. And now today we're going to talk about let me see if I get this right, the Individual Career and Academic Planning, or ICAP work at the State Department of Ed. So, cool.
Yeah.
Well, why don't, Marissa, before we jump into all that, why don't you give our listeners a quick bio of who is Marissa Lightsey?
Perfect. So I am a graduate of Oklahoma Baptist University, so local kid, graduated from Choctaw High School, so been in the area for, my entire life. I started my work working for the Upward Bound and the Gear Up programs. Those are both college and career tech prep programs dedicated to high school, middle school students, majority low income first generation college or students, or even high school graduates. And so did a lot of work connected to helping students really kind of transition to that next step. Prior to this role, I worked for Oklahoma Baptist University. I was a director of career development there for about 4 years, so helped transition students from college now into adulthood. So I've really been working and transitioning students my entire career. I am so much invested into this work. I have family that have been a part of education my entire life, and I really enjoy, really the work that I do in making sure that opportunities are accessible for all students and parents and families as well. And so that's just kind of a little bit about me.
Cool. And we were also sharing some parent war stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Still ongoing battles. I'm losing lots of battles. I may win the war. We're not really quite sure.
Now you can't give in.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm firmly in the you do not negotiate with terrorists.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, I'm there. I'll have to update you a little bit as we go.
All right. Well, let's jump in. So I've heard the word ICAP. I've heard schools talk about it a little bit. Why don't you give listeners sort of a background? What is ICAP? Where does it come from?
Sure.
And then we'll get into sort of implementation and what schools are doing with it.
Absolutely. So ICAP stands for Individual Career and Academic Planning. So in short, ICAP is similar to a career development process that a student would participate in over the 4 years of their high school career. It's went into law in about 2017, so it was the ICAP bill, and since then we have been working with about 74 pilot districts to pilot best practices for ICAP and what that would look like in our school districts, who would need to be involved. What we learned from that was that ICAP is best actually implemented as early as middle school and sometimes elementary. And so we've had several ICAP pilot districts who have started the process as early as elementary, pre-K, or kindergarten. And so that's been really exciting to see, getting students to be exposed to careers and those things as well. ICAP can really be best described as broken up into, a few stages. So at first you have your career awareness stage, and that is where an individual might become first aware of what a career is, what careers even exist, in my area, or what possibilities. And then we go into career exploration, and that's where the student is now became exposed to some careers, some industries that they're interested in, and now they want to delve into that and see what opportunities exist within that industry. So if I were interested in manufacturing, now I'm going to look and see what type of jobs within manufacturing I'd be interested in. So I'm going to explore. I'm going to explore some careers, but I'm also going to explore myself. What are my interests, and how do my interests really connect to the careers that are available? And then we go into planning. And so when we start to do some planning, that's where I have now found some particular careers I'm interested in, and I need to start making some decisions to prepare for that particular career. And so that may mean that that particular career requires a certification. So now I need to look at some career tech programs that are available in my area, do my due diligence for financial aid and those things as well. And so that process it sounds quick, but That can take 12 years. It can take 4 years, depending
I'm
upon
going
the
on
student.
42 right now.
Okay,
So
well, you're
yeah.
getting there. I understand completely, but it brings up a good point. This career development process is something that is cyclical.
Hmm.
Students and adults are going to go through this process over and over as we start to go through our career development cycles or our career lives. We will change careers all the time, and so as we get older and we progress, we understand how to become aware of a position, how to apply, how to interpret the requirements and prepare ourselves. And that's really what we're teaching students to do early rather than later. And so not having to go through life to be able to find ourselves or find our career matches. We want students to be able to recognize their particular stages for that early on and start to make that connection. And so that is really what, ICAP is really all about. We
Okay.
started this work through JP Morgan Chase. Has allowed for us to, we received a grant. It was a 3-year grant, and it was
Okay.
about $2 million that we received in 2017. We were one of 10 states that received the grant. About 44 states applied, and then it came down to us and 9 other states. And
Okay.
so through this grant, we have been piloting the ICAP process with the 74 school districts. We've also been working with several various stakeholders to create ICAP-related resources. Our website, which is a shameless plug, www.okedge.com. So that website is
Okay.
where you will find several ICAP-related as well as college and career readiness resources as well. We've created a online platform where businesses, educators, and families can all connect and start to find high demand careers in their areas. So if you are very interested in manufacturing, you're able to find where the high demand manufacturing careers are in my particular area or even down in my county and start to connect with those professionals and start to network and find those opportunities as well. And so we've been able to do quite a few things to really prepare for this rollout that will be next fall.
Okay. So I want to make sure we got that website for the show notes. It's
Sure.
okedge.com.
.com.
Okay.
Yes. All one word. Yeah.
Government folks throwing us off with the .com, huh?
No, we're doing the .com. We've
I
got to
like
get
it.
in there. We've got to get into this new era, and it's been exciting. We've had a lot of users, a lot of visitors. Our educators, of course, enjoy having the resources right at their fingertips. We have created this website that has taken a lot of our career tech resources and our higher ed resources and put them all on one page instead of having to kind of hunt, seek, and find those things.
Thank you.
We've also, no problem. So we've had to work with several business leaders to find out what would you want, what would you find helpful, how do you connect with schools, and that's really been kind of their biggest question is how do I connect with the school other than just connecting and providing backpacks or something. Like, how
Yeah.
do I really make a relationship with this particular district? And so we have resources that really guide you in that process as well. And so it's really just a one-stop shop for ICAP or college and career readiness resources.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
Good. So 74 pilot sites. Were these all? You said they were like middle and elementary. Would they all started as high school?
So it's districts, and we actually had 74
Okay.
districts, 134 pilot sites total.
Wow. Okay.
So our districts were required to choose either one site within their district and at least one grade in their district to participate in the pilot. They also had to put together ICAP leadership teams. And those teams involved a teacher, an administrator, maybe a superintendent or assistant superintendent, a community leader, a career tech counselor or teacher as well, and a parent and a student. And they met monthly or sometimes more frequently than that to discuss what ICAP process would look like in their schools. And they made sure to involve all of the feedback from everybody as well. And I think I left off of our counselors, of course, are involved in the process
Sure.
as well. And so so it's been a 2-year study. We actually worked with the University of Oklahoma's K-20 Center. They have been studying our pilot study. And at the end of each year, they have provided us with results from several surveys they've provided to our schools, focus groups as well, to make sure that they are giving us the best recommendations via our pilot districts to make sure that those aren't results that are coming from us. Those are actually coming from our pilot sites.
Cool.
Majority of the resources you'll see on our website were actually put together or vetted through our pilot district. So they weren't actually things that we ourselves actually put together.
Cool. So the practitioners are producing the content. So if the survey results from the K-20 work, anything, were there any aha moments coming out of that?
I think probably the first year it was the fact that so many recommended starting the ICAP process earlier than middle school. I think
Okay.
in legislation it says, obviously we had to begin it in ninth grade, but it was recommended in middle school, so as early as sixth grade.
Okay.
But the survey results revealed to us that many thought about starting it earlier than even that. And
that is surprising to me too. Why do you think that folks think that it's important for elementary?
From what I gather, many of the districts were interested in students being exposed earlier than later, and of course we know that there's always positives from that. But I think also getting the students excited about career development or the career focus. Once you get to middle school, it perhaps could be hit or miss. You never know, and students start to get into their own specializations, their own interests and things, and you really have to work hard sometimes to catch interest. They start to get into sports and band and music, those things as well. And so with elementary school, you kind of have that captivated audience right there. And so I think for some it was a little easier. The parent engagement, of course, is a huge piece, and parent engagement is really something that I think our schools were working with, and they've done a great job of increasing their parent engagement, but it was somewhat easier, obviously, in elementary as well. So, you have your parents there also. So, just really just kind of a multitude of reasons is why they recommended starting earlier rather than later. So,
Cool. So you mentioned the big implementation starts this fall. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. So, beginning next fall or this upcoming fall, all ninth graders will be required to begin the ICAP process.
Okay.
And so we are very fortunate in Oklahoma. Both the Oklahoma Department of Career Technology and the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education have purchased and put together some amazing tools that we will be using for students to be able to keep track of their ICAP process. And so these are online tools that students will be able to go in, take assessments, be able to show their progress towards career goals that they've actually set for themselves.
Okay.
They'll be able to share these profiles with their parents or with students and or other educators as well. And so it gives them really a process to have ownership of their particular plans. Students will be keeping track of grades that they've received from semester to semester. So instead of just waiting on that final report card or transcript, some students, once you get to, junior or senior year, when you're applying for scholarships, that's the first time they start to look at their transcript or maybe even know what their GPA is. And so this will allow for them to be keeping track of that as they go. They'll start to connect the particular courses that they are taking to the careers that they are interested in. And so this will really change the way that they're thinking, about their high school careers and the choices, of course, that they're making. The online tool will be able to capture any component of the ICAP. So that will be the main tool that they will use to be able to show that progress and refer back to year.
Kind of a technical question, but how will is that tool going to be accessed through the OK Edge website?
So both of those websites exist on their own. So OK Career Guide or OK College Start, they have their own URLs. However, we have put those links on our
from the OK
website
Edge
as well.
Okay.
The pilot schools that are both using the tools, they have implemented ICAP in numerous ways. So some have, the most popular would probably be the advisory time for teachers. And so what that means is that if a school has a 20-minute to 25 or 30-minute advisory time once a week, they have a teacher that is assigned to maybe 20 or so random students in that particular grade, and they meet once a week to discuss, it could be career development, it could be really anything senior, related things. And they have used that advisory time to get on the platform and discuss career goals and those things as well. So students really like that. It's something different. It breaks it up. It's not, the same class. And I'm probably with students that I don't regularly, meet with, or, that
Mm-hmm.
don't share my classes. And so it just gives them an opportunity to create community. Some of those advisory classes are lumped together based on career interests. So the students are with people that share their particular interests as well.
Okay.
So,
Cool. Um, oh gosh, which way do I go here? There's all different types of stuff. So okay, so freshmen that just finished, they're not part of this. But I know what I wanted to talk about. The freshmen that are coming in. So like, will the school provide them the login, or they like?
Some school, either way, some schools have, put together some login, rules here, like it must be
Okay.
your 4x4, or your student
Okay.
ID or something.
Sure.
And that's the most popular, because then, if a student loses it, then they always know kind
They
of
know
how
what
to
it
track
is.
that down.
Yeah.
Some have encouraged students to make their own profiles as well.
Okay.
A thing that, to remember is these online tools have actually been a part of Oklahoma for a while.
Okay.
It's just never been used in this manner, not in a succinct way. And so they've made quite a few investments for upgrades to be able to meet our ICAP needs, both of those teams. And so this is, it may not be something that's particularly new to the student. It just may be a different way that they are using that particular tool.
Okay. And then so once I get in with this, however I get into the system, as a student, if I'm a freshman in high school,
Sure.
do I progress to like? Can I progress at my own pace? Like if I get real excited about doing some of this work, or
Sure.
is this? Do I still need to sort of follow along with when my school tells me to do
Sure.
stuff?
Yes, you can progress at your own pace. You can do however you like, and each view that a student sees is dedicated to their particular school year, their classification. So freshmen are only seeing the freshman view, sophomore the sophomore view, and those things as well. And that way, they are prompted to go and communicate with their, ICAP advisor or counselor or teacher or whomever is their contact, to have some discussion about the assessments rather than just clicking through assessments and those things as well. It really prompts them to have those conversations and really think through the decisions that they've made, and interpret those results as well. So instead of just taking, the assessments, it's not really just kind of a sit and get. Majority of our ICAP pilots have put together programming around that. So for example, we have had school districts who have started doing what we call senior conferences. And those senior conferences are something similar to what we would go to a professional development conference, with several breakout sessions related to a student's interests.
We've worked with a few schools on that.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty exciting.
It's been very exciting. They've really enjoyed it. It's something to be said where we encourage students to participate in those without their parents. They're more likely to ask some real questions and not sit back and let mom and dad kind of take care of, the questions, or maybe are intimidated, or, an adult in the room. And so I've
Or they're afraid to explore a career that maybe mom and dad don't approve of.
Or that they're not familiar with, or at all. If we had, it was one student who was from a family of, nurses and teachers. I mean, there wasn't really a lot out of, that was different. And so, he was interested in, I forget, I think it was, engineering. And so his thought process was, engineering is going to be so hard, and I'm not sure how I'm going to make that, and I don't have any engineers in my family. I don't know what to expect, And because he was able to do some exploration and connect with some engineers, I think he was in the prior area, and so they were able to connect with the city planner or the city manager, I think. And, now he knows an engineer. And before, he had no idea who an engineer was. I don't think he understood that an engineer could be a city planner, And so there's just so much that students are able to get exposed to through this process, and do it in a way where it's intentional. Career development is not something that, kids just can't wait to do until they experience it, and then they love it, And that's just kind of, one of those things. It's a nice icebreaker. It gets them excited, and they're able to run with it. So, yeah.
Cool. How do you respond to folks that say, well, yeah, but these are high school kids. They have no idea what they're going to be when they grow up?
Sure. So, I respond by saying I'd rather them be confused now in high school when the mistakes are a lot cheaper, then encouraging them to cross the stage in a freshman year in college or first year of career tech and paying for it and still being lost. I think that, we have to remember that, your 18th birthday doesn't give you a ton more knowledge than what you had before. You're probably.
I'm quite sure I got stupider after my 18th
perhaps,
birthday.
I think so too. I think something happened. I blew the candles out, but but I think that allowing them to explore and understand how to ask the right questions. Sometimes it's not always being the most brilliant person in the room. It's about knowing the best questions to ask. And I think that the ICAP process is what we're really teaching students is how to ask questions, how to investigate, how to plan. And those are tools that anyone is going to need, throughout all of your adult life. And perfect. Yeah.
I'm reminded of, and one of the reasons I asked that last question was we work with a school district up in Northwest Sharon Mutual, and they're a smaller district.
Sure.
And what they've decided is that each one of their kids, as part of their personalized learning work, so that all their high school was on a personalized learning track, and they had each kid choose a career track using the career tech had purchased a model which said here are the different career paths.
Sure.
And some of those aligned with programming at the career tech, so then the kids could go take that, and some didn't, and so then the school sought out, experiences. And one individual student was a senior.
Sure.
He was interested in becoming a linesman and doing like the electrical repair work.
Okay.
And so they looked into it. The career tech programming was you had to have a high school diploma before you could do it. So his parents looked into it, and there was, I think, Okmulgee had a program, the career tech there. But in the meantime, they said, well, we got to get you some experience. So they called the local utility company, and they got him a job.
Yeah.
Once a week, he went out in the cherry picker and did the work. I don't sure how much he could do.
Sure.
Probably wouldn't get too close to the high power line,
just being
but
there and being around
well, and he loved it until November rolls around and they got their first ice storm up there. Yeah. And he came in the next day. He said, I froze my butt off yesterday. I hated it. I don't want to be that anymore. Sure. And the school at first was worried, like, oh man, the parents are going to be really upset, because they've enrolled him in this program, and the parents are like, wait a minute, we can get out of the program, and it was going to be, thousands of dollars, and now we don't have to waste that, and he can figure out, now he's got some time to figure out what the next step is. So, to your point, like, let's get the ball rolling here. Much lower stakes.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I don't know about you, but I've changed careers a few times in my life, and it can be scary.
It can be, and you have a lot more. As an adult, you have responsibilities and bills and all of these things, children, things that you have to think about. Whereas when you're younger, all we want you to do is just explore and say yes or no. I mean, that's really what we want you to do. We want you to explore, say yes or no, ask why as much as you possibly can. And the ICAP process, I think, has been extremely positive for a lot of students, a lot of teachers, parents. We do monthly webinars with our districts, and so we, check in and ask, how's the process been? Would have been some surprises, would have been some failures, would have been, and we had a time where we were able to ask the students, and they participated, and everyone, talked about how much they really loved it. They really look forward to it. They enjoyed their time talking about what the future was going to look like, and I think that Superintendent Hofmeister mentioned earlier that we were seeing a connection between hope and the ICAP, and that has been something.
Explain that.
Sure. So, she had a student advisory committee that she meets with a few times a year, and we were able to ask them the very first time we met with them, what would redesigning high school look like? And many of them, talked about the importance of mental health services, but also resources connected to college and career. They were already thinking in that headspace. Many of them were juniors or seniors, and they were thinking about what the next step is. Gosh, it would have been great if I would have had this course, so I wouldn't, be struggling trying to figure out what the next process or next step would be. Many then went into more detail and talked about those that participated in the ICAP pilot. She has some students that are actually part of our pilots on her advisory, and they talked about the fact that they were seeing more students who weren't engaged really in school or maybe weren't coming look forward to those days that they were talking about career readiness or, the career
And is that
exploration
because
days
they actually saw how school connected to?
to them,
Yep.
their individual interests. And I believe that. I think that, we are fortunate as part of our New Skills for Youth grantees to meet with other states that are doing this work. We meet with them about twice a year,
Cool.
and they have shared similar stories in their areas. Now, some of them have actually started this ICAP like work a few years ago, and so they actually have studies that have showed. I believe one of the studies in a school district in Colorado showed that they saw a decrease in teen pregnancies for their Latina students who were participating in their version of ICAP. And so, so we've been able to glean from several other states and see some positive results from this type of work and starting to see the beginnings of that in our own state and our own schools.
Cool. You mentioned sort of redesigning high school.
Sure.
Have any of the pilot sites really tried, based on their ICAP work, to try and do that, or is it we still more in the ideation phase?
So I've seen some that have been more aggressive with the process. One of which would be Yukon High School. They have done some pretty amazing work with the ICAP, and they were one of the districts who had all of their middle schools and their high school participate in the pilot, and really focused on creating a career development culture in their schools so that they could capture even those students who are not going to be affected by the ICAP graduation rule. So even their juniors and seniors this year still participating in those programs and things as well. And many of our other districts have done that also, but some have, restructured some courses. Those that are fortunate have been able to hire maybe a part-time or full-time person to do just the internships. Those that are really kind of taken that work-based learning opportunity and ran with it. And so they have established a course that every student has to take at a certain grade level. I think it might be 9th or 10th grade. And that is their career exploration course that every student will go through. I think Middale Public Schools has also done that. And I believe several other districts have started adding some curriculum within their financial literacy exam or courses as well. So we've been able to see a lot of things.
That's exciting. What about, I'm sure there's some naysayers. I'm sure that, you hear this is just one more thing for schools. How do you respond to some of the criticism or the negative feedback you get?
Sure. So, and you're correct. We, at the very beginning, I think it was, this is one more thing that we're going to have to do. And, I'm so, busy with all the other work. But I think that was many thought of the ICAP as an extra course. They didn't really maybe understand that this was something that was really a mind shift for the school. It was a culture shift.
Okay.
That we're no longer just working to make sure that they're prepared to cross the stage. We're thinking about what opportunities exist beyond the stage. We're no longer putting the emphasis on just college or career tech, where it's either or. Sometimes it's both. We're putting the emphasis on the career being the destination, and really college, career tech, military, or on-job training.
Means to an end.
Yes, just those are the vehicles. And so that's been probably most of the work, I think, is really sitting down and having conversations about what type of experiences do we want our students to have and how do we want them to be prepared for that next step. And, so I guess my response to really just the one more thing is, it's really just the same things that you've already been doing. A lot of our districts have shared with us activities that they have done that have been related to this. And so I think a lot of schools have toured the career techs. They offer a college fair. They may have a time where students take assessments and those things. And so they've been doing kind of random college and career readiness activities. This is the first time that we have asked for them to put it in a framework. And so I think that once we described that in the very beginning, a lot of our districts really got it and started to get excited again. The fact that they were going to now have some time and that accountability for students to participate in something that they've worked really hard to put together.
It's exciting. I mean, I know you've already been doing a lot of outreach, but where can schools get more resources? What are ways that they can learn more, and as they consider this implementation in the coming fall?
Perfect. So on our website, the Oklahoma or okedge.com website, we've actually put together, or our pilot districts have actually put together a ICAP toolkit. And
Okay.
so that is available on the website. That toolkit, again, it's not a step-by-step guide where we're requiring all schools to do every single step in the toolkit at all. This is really the beginnings of a resource packet that exists to maybe answer any questions that a school may have about getting started and implementing the ICAP. Has information for districts who are just starting out or districts who have already been in the game and they're wanting to revamp what they already have and those things as well. So lots of resources for any school district to have to really kind of start this work. We also will be offering 5 regional trainings in July.
The Engage conferences?
Well, on top of the
on top of it.
Engage.
Okay.
So we will be at Engage OK.
You're doing some traveling in
we
July.
We're going to do some traveling. And so we'll be at Engage OK, of course, and we will have, I think, a total of 6 breakout sessions related to ICAP at Engage. So several opportunities for school districts to get connected. And then following that, in late July, we will start 5 regional trainings in different areas within the state that are just dedicated to ICAP, and that will then help students or schools really get started with the planning as well. So we will definitely be working hard to get in front of
So
many
no
of them.
July vacations for you,
No
huh?
July vacations. That's all right. I don't want to be on the road with 3 kids anyway. I mean,
See, the trick, my wife and I just pulled this off. You go on vacation without the kids.
I see.
It's not a
Yeah.
vacation, it's travel when you take kids and family.
I understand. Yes, I
So,
understand
yeah.
that now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love my girls. I absolutely do.
I
But
do. Yeah.
it was a good
Me
vacation.
too. I feel like I had to say that. I do love my children.
Yep. I don't always
But
like them. I mean, I
this-
always love them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is very true.
And yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I would staff my parents out for more kids, but I think that my girls are running them ragged right now. So
Absolutely.
I think our time's running short. I always like to ask, is there anything that I have forgotten to ask?
I think we were pretty thorough. I think that, again, if we, I hope to see many people join us at Engage OK. It's going to be, it's a great time for all of us to get together. It's
I'm
kind
going to
of
be
like
at all
our,
5 this year.
Yeah,
so.
it's like our own little summer camp sometimes.
It is.
We get together and then we go and I guess we're all a bunch
Do
of
you all
nerds.
sing? Because the staff members go on the bus around.
We
Do you all
do.
sing things and stuff on the
Sometimes,
buses?
superintendent will maybe tell a joke or something at the beginning of the bus and we have a good time.
But
and
then
we'll
she
just-
doesn't ride the bus, I understand.
she does ride the
Oh,
bus
does
with
she?
us.
I
She
thought she
hangs
rode. I
out.
thought she had a separate ride.
No, I mean we all kind of hang out with each other. It's a good time. We're
dig
so
it.
busy, throughout the whole year that we're all in the same building, but everyone's probably going, a million different directions. And
Yep.
so it's nice to be together, and just discuss. We're all a bunch of, educator nerds, I guess. So we're just getting together and talking about our own work. But it's great to connect and to see each other and, and superintendent. And, it's a good time. It really is a lot of fun.
Cool. I'm looking forward to the conferences as well. So, well, thanks for joining the show. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.